class today. Today we'll be talking about Introduction to Folktales. Introduction to Folktales. In our previous class we discussed the term literature. We talked about literature, we talked about the features of literature. I also discussed oral literature and written literature. And I gave an example of oral literature, that folktales are examples of oral literature. But today we're going to talk about folktales. What are folktales? Originally, folktales are what? Past stories told with the word of the mouth. It was passed from generation to generation with what? The word of the mouth. Folktales are what? Stories. It might be traditional stories, it might be creation story, it might be a community stories. Folktales are stories made up long ago to teach people how to live a good life. Folktales are stories long ago. Most of us have grandma and grandpa too. Stay with them, we'll be able to learn more stories. They're going to tell us more tales, more stories. All these stories are telling us about folktales because they have occurred long ago. All these stories have occurred long ago. That's what we call folktales. They are stories which have occurred long ago. Folktales are stories made up long ago to teach people how to live good life and how to live wisely. Most of us would have had examples of stories of the tortoise having a bad hair. We all know the story of the tortoise stealing the pottage and putting it on his head. And the hen drawn, he had a bad hair. So now, these stories are folktales. They are told with the word of the mouth. They are always interesting, amusing. Folktale stories ends up to teach moral lesson. Moral lesson. We have the case of tortoise stealing from the pots of his mother-in-law. So now the moral lesson, there will be a moral lesson at the end of the folktale, which is to teach people how to live wisely and how to live a good life. These stories are about animals, birds, fish, or insects. I give an example of tortoise. An insect that thinks and talks like human being. The stories are often amusing, so that we enjoy hearing and reading them. Folktale contains a lesson. I told you, folktale, at the end of hearing a folktale, there is always a lesson for you to learn. To live a good life and live wisely. We have so many folktales, so many stories, long ago stories. So folktales are stories. These will take us to features of folktales. Read an example of folktale in our textbook, New Oxford for Junior Secondary School, Upper Basic Education for JSS1 class. We have example of a folktale in it. We have the tortoise and the leopard. You have to pay attentive to it. The tortoise and the leopard. The leopard was very proud of his strength. He boasted to the other animals, "None of you can fight me. I can kill any of you." The animals were frightened. They ran away and hid. But the tortoise did not run away like the others. The tortoise said, "I am not afraid. You can't kill me. If you fight me, you will never be able to kill anyone else." "Nonsense," the leopard said, and rushed at the tortoise. But the tortoise put his head and his four legs into his shell. Bites other called the tortoise from inside the shell, and the leopard went on biting. At first one tooth broke, then another. At last, the leopard was tired and all his teeth were broken. The tortoise looked out of his shell. "You see," he said, "I was quite right. You can't kill me, and now you won't be able to kill anyone else." So now we can see what? The bravery of what? The tortoise. And the leopard, a proud animal, killing other animals. Now we can see the trick the tortoise used in defeating the leopard. And the leopard ended up with no teeth. But remember that each folktale contains a lesson that is usually called the moral. The moral lesson. So the moral is clearly stated at the end of the story. Sometimes we have to ask ourselves, what is the moral of this story? This story that I've read to you now. So what is the moral lesson we learned from this story? What advice does it give to us? What lesson does it teach? Asking and answering one of these questions is the most important part of understanding the folktale. Remember, in the folktale, you ask this question: what is the moral of this story? What advice does it give us? And what lesson does the folktale teach? So, folktale is based on teaching a moral lesson and how to live a good life. Now, let's take the moral lesson from this short story, the tortoise and the leopard. The moral lesson we're having here is leopard. They said leopard was what? Full of strength, and he was proud. Very proud because of his strength. He boasted to other animals. So now, we're going to talk. The first moral lesson is that for us not to be proud. And the bravery of tortoise defeating the leopard. Tortoise was able to defeat leopard due to his wisdom. He was brave to overcome the situation by defeating leopard, the boastful animal. And the end result of being proud will lead you to nothing. The leopard ended up with what? No teeth. He was unable to have any teeth in him again. After biting the shell of what? Tortoise, he ended up with what? No teeth. So, the moral lesson learned there is what? For us to live an upright life, not to be full of pride.